All right, welcome to the first YouTube video of the Cheap Seats Baseball and Beer podcast. My name is Vladimir.
My name's Andrew.
And we're here excited to talk to you about baseball while drinking beer from the Cheap Seats. We have recorded about, 2 episodes?
Yeah, I think 2 episodes so far.
2 episodes so far. We have them up on, basically all the major podcasting sites, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, etc., etc. We also have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, an
Instagram page,
which Drew controls, and it's kind of cool. The concept is essentially we are going to drink beer every time we have a podcast or a YouTube video from the locale that we're discussing. And in that way, we kind of hope to build like a long list of all the beers that are available to, just normal people so they can just enjoy beer on their off time while watching baseball.
That sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. So, the first couple episodes, what are we talking about in the first one, Drew?
The first episodes, we talked about the World Series, the playoffs, which was a very good segment, kind of refreshing memories of what the playoffs were. Second one, we talked about the winter meetings and the huge deals that happened with the Yankees and Giancarlo Stanton, and of course the fire sale that the Miami Marlins are having.
Yeah.
So those are the last 2 or the first 2 episodes that we did. This episode that we're going to be talking about, of course, Vlad will be discussing that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit intro about ourselves. We introduced our names. My name is Vladimir, and I'm a huge White Sox fan, as you guys can tell, decked out for the first episode in White Sox here, and we'll talk about the conflict here. But currently, I'm a student at a law school nearby here, and on my free time, essentially, all I do is just watch baseball and talk baseball. So we figured that it was a great idea to start this up because we're both huge baseball fanatics.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I've been a huge baseball fan my entire life, played baseball all the way up through high school. Favorite team has always been the Chicago Cubs since day one. That was my dad's favorite team, and I used to watch it during the day with my grandpa when I would stay home from school or during the summer. So Cubs are the team that I grew up watching. I also root for the Astros because we are here in San Antonio. Yep. And, of course, it's a 2.5-hour trip up to Houston, so I've always watched them play. I've been to more games in Houston, and I've never been to a game in Chicago, but hopefully in the near future with this podcast, definitely make it. I, like Vlad, am also a student. I actually took some time off work to go back to school and finish up with a degree, so that's kind of what we're doing. Again, just like him, I watch baseball constantly, listen to it, replays. MLB Network is my news station, so it's pretty much that's what I do.
Yeah, and we talked about it in the first couple of podcasts. Well, actually, in the first one, we introduced everything. Our long-term plan, we're actually going to have a little fun with this in the future. We're hoping maybe a month or 2 in, we're going to invite our wives to talk some baseball in their own way, in whatever way that they like talking baseball. We'll call it the hot corner.
Yes.
Yeah. So they really wanted to participate, and I thought that honestly it probably sounded like a good idea because they'll just have fun with it.
Yeah, but they probably will.
Yeah, but other than that, what other things do we kind of want? Where do we want to take this podcast?
So keep a lookout, and again, subscribe to some of our things that Vlad went over, some of our podcast areas that we went over. But also keep a lookout. We will keep you guys updated on where we are as far as our own website, the Instagram pages, Facebook pages, social media. We kind of want to go a little big with this thing, so we'll keep you updated as much as possible. Again, if you follow us on some of the social medias, we'll give you updates all the time. This is something that we want to do from here on out because, like you said, we watch baseball constantly, and pretty much when we get together with our wives, they talk whatever they want to talk, and me and Vlad are talking baseball.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of sad.
We talk just baseball, sports in general, but baseball is pretty much what we really love to talk about.
Our main passion.
So,
yeah, that's true. Okay, so what we're gonna do today, we're about to start up the podcast, so just follow along with us. We're gonna be doing this from here on out. We thought it was a great way to kind of combine everything up. We want you guys to see how we do things and just basically how we talk about it. And another thing, the main point of this is we respect the game, we respect the numbers of the game, we respect everything like that. We will talk numbers here and there, but in no way are Drew and I going to discuss this in a purely analytical way. Our entire goal for the podcast is essentially just for the layman person, just for any normal Joe like me and Drew who love baseball, but don't really, we care about the numbers, but don't want to get carried away by them. We just want to enjoy the game.
Yeah. Something that, just like you said, we definitely want to talk about what we feel as fans, not as what numbers, what metrics you want to hear about. That you have ESPN and metrics and MLB Network for that, and they're great stations. I follow them all the time.
Yeah.
But we're just talking what we want to see, what we feel like the fans want to hear. As a fan from the cheap seats is essentially what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that is something that we're going to talk about the major transactions. We're going to talk about some of their minor league staffs because some of these teams are quite stacked in the minor leagues. What some teams can expect in the future. Some of the big deals that are going down, but not too much numbers, guys. No.
Yeah.
That's a lot to follow.
Yeah.
And like we said, we're in school, so it's not like we have 24 hours a day to go over numbers.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we're looking for, just for the simple fan.
Yeah. No, and honestly, I really think, if you wanted numbers, there are like 100 podcasts you can get that'll give you purely numbers, and that's nice. It's nice to have, but what we want to talk about is just the game for fun, and I feel like baseball needs, it's a fun sport. So why the heck should everything be about numbers all the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so today we are going to talk about the NL West, and I'm going to go ahead and start previewing the podcast right now. So bear with me as we go into podcast mode. Welcome to Cheap Seats, Baseball, and Beer, our third podcast coming in today. Today we will talk about the NL West, the division itself, what we believe is going on in the division right now, what went on last year, and where we see it, shaping up the following year. Today, what kind of beer are we going to be drinking, Drew?
So today we are drinking Bourbon Barrel Aged Arrogant Bastard from Stone Brewing Company in Escondido, California. It looks like a wicked bottle right now, guys. If you can see the logo on the very top.
Yeah.
It is pretty cool. This is one of Vlad's favorite drinks.
Yep.
According to him, it's his favorite beer. It's his favorite brewing company. So I have never tasted it, so I'm going to be a pretty harsh critic today.
All right, that's fair.
So
that's honestly fair. But you have seen me have this beer before.
He drinks this quite often, guys.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, and not this particular one.
No, I drink the really big ones, the ones with the high ABV at like 12%.
So I've never had it. At the end of this pod, we will definitely discuss it. I will definitely be a harsh critic. Keep an eye out for it on the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook post.
Yeah.
Because this is something that we'll definitely be talking about.
It also, we have, obviously, as you guys will hear, the sound quality will be a little bit improved. Well, a lot, actually. We got brand new equipment. We have a brand new mic. So we're pretty happy about that. We're going to have a much greater difference between the quality of the voice output that we had from the last podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. We're currently active on basically the majority of all major platforms, whether it's Twitter. Twitter for our social media, but iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, et cetera. We're basically everywhere. Make sure, because we don't want to go ahead and spell out the server websites for all you guys. The way to get there, including our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, would be to go to cheapseatspodcast.libsyn.com, and that's where we're hosting for now. In the future, Drew, I think we're hoping to build a website soon.
Yes, soon we're hoping to build a website to try and get all of our social media on the same page. Hopefully embed an MP3 player, so maybe you don't have to necessarily download the podcast. You can listen to them. But there also will be links to download, and they'll get you links to cheapseatpodcast.libsyn.com. Mm-hmm. So you can listen to the podcast, download the podcast, become frequent followers of the podcast is what we would really like. So keep an eye out for that. We will definitely update you guys on everything that's going on in the future.
Yep.
So, and we'll keep you updated on a weekly basis when we do these podcasts.
Yeah. So, and we're also following along with our webcam on YouTube, so you guys will also be able to see us on that. Mm-hmm. So please subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll be kind of doing a pre-show content on there where we kind of play around for a little bit. Just with the settings, just joking around and stuff, and then post content for a couple minutes afterwards too, since we obviously want to lead into the podcast. But Drew, you ready to talk some NL West baseball today?
So, like you said, we are talking NL West baseball, drinking some good Arrogant Bastard beer. Mm-hmm. We are going to be starting from the bottom up. So,
yeah, if we looking at the divisional standings, I mean, as most of you probably know, last year we had the San Francisco Giants come on the bottom at 64-98, and we had the Padres come in second to last, 71-91. The Rockies at 87-75, and they made the second wild card spot in the National League. Arizona Diamondbacks were their competitors at the first wild card spot in the National League at 93-69, and obviously the Dodgers were the winners of the division at 104-58. An incredible season, making it all the way to the World Series, but falling flat against the Houston Astros. Well, Drew's second favorite team.
Two years in a row, guys. Chicago Cubs and the Houston Astros. It's been a blast.
He had the he had the luck of having the Cubs last year, and now he has the Astros. So I guess we'll see how it works out for him next year too. But anyway, Drew, what do you see? What do you think about the San Francisco Giants last year? And where do you see them headed?
So, as far as the Giants goes, of course, they made a big splash in the offseason with the trade for Evan Longoria.
Right.
To me, Evan Longoria is a very good player.
Right.
Very excellent player. He's going to add some offensive power to the San Francisco Giants. There's no doubt about it. My big question is the age factor, because I know San Francisco Giants are trying to get younger, but with this trade, they're not getting younger. No. In my opinion, they're getting a little older, and they have some of the players around him that make him good. I mean, you still have Posey, you have Hunter Pence, but those guys are getting older.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it's going to work out.
Well, here's my. I guess I think I voiced a lot of the same concerns as you, especially in regards to age. But more importantly, Evan Longoria, he's obviously still a good baseball player. But can we say that he's at the level that he once was in terms of greatness? Because I considered him in the higher tier of third baseman. Do we still think he's there?
Defensively, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Offensively, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not what he used to be a couple years ago. And he has seen a little bit some downfalls. And I think age is the factor. I know he's had a couple minor injuries previous years. So there are some things that he's going to bring to the table. Now, the big question that I have for the Giants, of course, is that it?
Right.
Are they going to go out for more?
Right.
Because I mean, you still have Kane on the market. You still have Moustakas.
Yeah.
You still have some big names out there that they can add, not only for defensive purposes but for offensive purposes.
Right.
So Moustakas may be out of the question because they just picked up the third baseman in Longoria, but a Kane,
right?
Like Lorenzo Kane from the Royals, or maybe even Eric Hosmer from the Royals as well. I mean,
that would be a pretty significant pickup for him.
Absolutely.
And you know what? To be honest with the Giants, that my one draw, I was kind of discussing this with you prior to the podcast itself, looking over their staffs. I personally didn't understand how it's possible for the Padres to eke out a second to last place finish, because looking player to player, kind of looks like the Giants are a better team. But
absolutely on paper.
But Madison Bumgarner had that weird freaking injury, and he was out for, I forget how many games. I think almost half the season, a little bit less probably. And he didn't get to pitch to his, full potential. And they had Johnny Cueto, who didn't pitch to his potential as well. And then you look at Jeff Samardzija, personally, one of my least favorite pitchers in the major leagues.
Yeah, I'm not a Samardzija fan either, but
you saw him pitch for the Cubs. I saw him pitch for the White Sox. He's got a lot of talent, but really has never strung it together. No. And he's consistent in being kind of average. All he does is do the exact same thing. Strikes out a good amount of people, does give you a lot of innings. So he's a good workhorse if that's what you need in your lineup. But he's not good to win games.
He's a good third rotation pitcher.
I would say third. I would say where he's good at. If you have Jeff Samardzija as your fifth, you're in a good place. If he's your fifth pitcher, then you're probably on a winning baseball team, because he's an innings eater, and that's kind of what you're looking for from your fifth starter.
Yeah.
You want him to protect the bullpen. You don't necessarily care as much if they win as many games.
From the time that Samardzija came out, when he was drafted out of Notre Dame, I always thought Samardzija would be a great middle relief guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they never took him that route.
He has the stuff.
Yeah.
He absolutely had the stuff back then. He still kind of has the stuff now.
Yeah.
To be a middle relief guy, in my opinion. Not a starter.
No.
And I think... And I have to talk about my Cubs here a little bit, but I think them trying to make him a starter, almost hurt his career.
Right. So,
But I mean, what can you do? But like you said, after Madison Bumgarner, who else do you have that could carry that team?
No, I mean, looking at their lineup, you really, I mean, they have the young guy Stratton who came in and pitched pretty well for the couple of games that he pitched, and I think he's most likely going to be, on the team next year as a full-time starter. So he may have potential. But right now, looking at that starting lineup, unless Johnny Cueto ends up being who he was who they wanted him to be when they signed him, there's really potential for them to have a lot of trouble with that pitching staff.
Well, it's not only starting pitching. Their bullpen. Here's another thing. I mean, you can add all the offense in the world with the Longoria, possibly Hosmer, possibly Kane, but without the pitching staff and especially the bullpen staff,
no doubt,
they're not going to go anywhere. Unfortunately, this team's not going to compete. I don't think this team's going to compete again unless they cover up some big needs. They covered their third baseman need definitely. But they still have an outfield need. They still have a starting pitcher needs.
Yeah.
And then of course you have the catcher. I mean, Buster Posey is your great catcher, but they're talking about moving Buster Posey to first base because of injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, so
and that's the thing. Catching can absolutely destroy careers.
Absolutely.
It can negate the amount of time you spend on the field. And I think Buster Posey, he's such a good talent. You kind of need to start conserving
Absolutely.
him. And there's nothing wrong with that because obviously having him long term on your team as a first baseman, I mean that's a pretty good get.
That's
and
pretty
then
good.
you can attain a catcher.
This team can make splashes if they go get an outfielder.
Yeah.
To me, if they move a Buster Posey to first base, if they could make a trade for TJ Realmuto, that team could be something. But again, where's the pitching? I'm afraid with the pitching.
So I guess my question to you is, how, seeing what you see now, their record from last year, with the addition of Evan Longoria, how many wins do you think he provides them, given that their roster basically is unchanged in terms of pitching and relief pitching?
I mean, if it stays the exact same as is, I don't see them. I see them barely scratching the 70 win, 70 to 75. I would say
75.
Because it's the pitching. The pitching's going to give up a lot of runs.
Yeah.
And who's to say Madison Bumgarner is still healthy as can be?
Right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to agree with you on the 70-75, mostly if Madison Bumgarner is completely healthy, pitches a full season. I think him plus Longoria give you that added, 10 to 12, 15 win bonus. I think high end, if we're looking at very optimistic, if everything goes right, if Johnny Cueto has, what was one of his best years, maybe drops that ERA down to 7, and then maybe goes like 15-7 or something like that. And then Justin Marja pitches a little bit better. Then maybe they're scraping 80, 85 wins and possibly fighting for a wild card 2 spot.
Yeah.
But I would need to see a lot of improvement in that bullpen.
The thing about it to me is, and one of the other big reasons I'm only giving them that 15 plus wins. This is a real good NL West.
Oh, yeah.
This is a real NL West division.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you have the Dodgers. You have an up-and-coming Rockies. You have an up-and-coming Diamondbacks. This is not... when you have 2 teams coming out of the NL West for the wild card, that's big.
No doubt.
You're competing against real good teams.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we'll discuss this in a little bit, but there's not much talent lost in the NL West right now in terms of like where the team. I mean, there could be significant pieces that will move and have moved already, but not enough, in my opinion, to drop them completely out of the discussion. So
and honestly, in my opinion, I think, and we'll talk about like NL West predictions at the end.
Right.
I think they move ahead of the Padres.
Yeah.
As far as the number 4 position in the NL West,
No
but
doubt.
I don't think they're competing for playoffs next year,
unless
they make some moves. If they make moves in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about them again later on.
Yeah.
But it all depends on the moves they make from here on out.
But I guess closing out what the commentary on the Giants a little bit here. The funny thing about the Giants is because they went on that unparalleled successful run where they won 3 titles every other year essentially, and because they have Bruce Bochy, who's an incredible manager. For some reason, every year coming into it, I always think maybe the Giants have a chance. Maybe. That's just my personal feeling. I don't know why. Since they went on their torrid run, I just always like the Giants. I always think that they're going to be a good club, solid club. I mean, they've let their fans down. Obviously, I think last year, the year before that, they weren't great either. So they've been kind of struggling lately. So,
but again, like it's an age thing, it's a youth thing.
No doubt.
I mean, Buster Posey was healthy as can be.
Right.
He was great. Hunter Pence was younger. Hunter Pence is now an old man in the league now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a different Giants team, and going out and getting Longoria, who's also maybe on the back end of his career,
right?
I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah, that's really that. I felt the same way about the addition of Evan Longoria. I know what they're doing. I like what they're doing, but I can also kind of, in my opinion, I can see where it could fail.
Yes.
Or where it may not improve them as much as they may want.
Yes.
So, anyway, that's how we see the Giants. Let's go ahead and move on to the San Diego Padres. Another team is. We talked about this at the beginning of our YouTube video. Well, no, actually, prior to making the YouTube video. I kind of told you I don't get how they even got into the 70s last year in terms of with the roster they have, just looking at their player-by-player comparison. I was kind of trying to tell you, I was like, who was their great hitter? And yeah, you have Myers, and you have, you have I forgot his name. Was it Headley? No. Was it Galvis? There was one other guy in their lineup who hit 30 home runs. But they had two guys who hit 30 home runs, and but they were both low average. Oh, there you go. Renfroe had 26 home runs, and then you had Myers who hit 30, but low average. So I was wondering how in the heck they even got to 70 wins. And they're pitching too.
So unless you guys really follow the Padres, or unless you're a real Padres fan, you have to know that this team is full of youth, man.
Oh yeah.
This team is young, and this team is good. They have real good players on their team.
Yeah, they're just young. Yeah.
Austin Hedges behind the plate is an amazing catcher. He needs to work on some of the offensive stuff. Defensively, he's awesome. Renfroe, like you said, Hunter Renfroe. I think he set the record for the rookie season with 26 home runs.
Yep.
Who's good. Manuel Margot, who plays in center field, he's a real good up-and-coming talent too. But he did have an injury last year, so he didn't get to play the full season. They have a young team, very good team. And
here's my question. I really understand that argument, but man, that pitching staff is just... I mean, the starting pitching staff is just ridiculous.
It's and especially, and it hurts me to, if I was a Padres fan, it would hurt me to hear the team is also shopping Brad Hand, who's one of the best relievers in the game.
Yeah.
And I get it, what they're asking for. They're asking for a lot of prospect talent, and teams aren't biting. But
here's my question with them, right? The Padres, I feel like they've been in perpetual rebuild. And I guess as a fan, at what point is enough? You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember the last time they've had a winning season. It's been that long.
Yeah.
But I think they've either been middling to below average for a long time, and even during their winning seasons, you knew that if they made the playoffs, they weren't going to do anything when they got in there. So my question is, why are you trading Hand right now? When I get it that maybe you want to continue building that farm system, but theoretically, if that's what you've been doing for so many years already, there may be problems that aren't really related to, the team itself. It could be that your scouting or anything you have down there, how you develop your players or how you develop your talent, isn't really working out. Because if you continue being mired in the rebuild, I mean, think about it. You had the Astros, you had the Cubs, right? Yep. How long? I mean, yeah, they sucked. They were horrible for, 4 or 5 years? But all the while they were sucking, in the minors, they were developing great young talent. And then obviously we saw it come to fruition last year or this year. So maybe we're at this point with the Padres where we should start thinking outside of the talent they have in-house or in the major league level, but what they're doing with the talent at the minor league level.
See, and that's the thing. It's according to some of the depth charts that I've seen, their minor leaguers, there's some of their pitchers and their minor leaguers are really good.
Yeah.
Don't know the names off the top of their hands right now, but
no, they have a great system.
They have a great system
by name.
And you have to start thinking, like you said, the Cubs, the Astros, the Royals. It all started with that system.
Right.
And it all started with that. Now, will they capitalize on it?
Right.
I don't know, because the San Diego Padres have never been a team to spend over $100 million.
No.
I mean, their payroll right now is like 70-something.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and I don't know
But don't forget the Astros are also that kind of team.
They were, but now look at their Astros roster. Now look at what they're paying.
They're going to have to pay top dollar.
You're going to have to pay top dollar, especially if you want to go out. You need a starting pitcher. You as a Padres fan, you need a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
You need middle relief guys. I mean, other than Hand, you need other people because Hand's the only one on there that really that really can make a difference for you guys. But you need to start spending some money.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're willing to do that. They have young talent, young guys that will be great players in this league.
Yeah.
I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep them if they stay this course.
Yeah. I mean, I think if one of your best pitchers is Clayton Richard or Richard, he used to pitch for I think he pitched for the Cubs and the White Sox, didn't he? Also,
I'm not too sure.
If not, he definitely pitched for the White Sox. But I remember when we traded him, and he was kind of a middling talent there, and obviously he's a middling talent now. So when he's one of your main go-to starters, you're not going to be in a good place. Yes. So I think we can both agree that in order for the Padres to start competing, first of all, will they this year?
They can, but
will they improve on 71 wins?
It all depends on their young talent. And also, it all depends on Will Myers. Will Myers did not have the year that he was supposed to have.
Right.
They signed him to a pretty big contract for Padres standards, and he didn't produce.
Right.
So it all depends on Will Myers, if he comes back, if he bounces back from a not too good season, and then of course it depends on kind of really on the three guys that I have to say, the Margot, Hedges, Renfroe. They did pick up Chase Headley from the Yankees in a trade, so that's pretty big for them. So they could improve.
But how big of an impact will Chase? See, when we talked about Evan Longoria, that's a potential 6-win impact if he does extremely well. You know, Chase Headley at his best, maybe 2 to 3 wins. We're not looking at a player who's a superstar here, or who has the potential of being a superstar.
No, he's not. He's not potential to be a superstar. But with this group of talent,
maybe
it could
gel.
Yeah, it could gel well good. But just like the Giants, all depends on their pitching. I don't think. Do I think they can improve? Yes, I think they can improve. Right. But on the flip side, they could also decline.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's the inherent risk you run when you have an entire team built off of young, basically unknown players who you're not sure if they're going to develop to be superstars. Yeah. That's really the inherent risk with anybody in a rebuild. I mean, just because it worked for the Cubs and the Astros and the Royals doesn't mean it's going to work for every team.
No.
I think that baseball as a whole is recognizing the value of having a rebuild by maybe the tanking aspect of things, by truly going for it and getting top 1 prospects, top 5 prospects in the draft. But I mean, there's always an element of luck when you're attaining talent, especially on how you talent. Like when you draft pitchers, that's risky as hell, especially when you're drafting high school pitchers. You don't know whether their arms are going to stay, and they examine them now based on their risk of whether they're the way they throw, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But that goes with there's a risk in drafting anybody. Any high level player who's touted highly coming out of high school or first year of college. So I guess maybe that really answers the question as to how they've been able to really be middling or below average for so long. Maybe they've tried to draft these high end prospects who people highly rate, but then they just fail in developing them or something.
Well, not only that, but I don't think I recall the Padres also fully breaking down their lineup like the Astros or the Cubs.
That's true. That's true. That's a very good point.
And what the Marlins are doing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think they fully broke down everything and they wiped the slate clean.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
They've always had 1 or 2 players that are big name players, but if you really want to consider a full rebuild, those players need to be gone too. Yeah. Like you got to be willing to say, okay, I'm only winning 60 games this season, and maybe not even that, but still, you have to be able to do that. And I don't know, I can't recall them ever doing that.
Right.
So that could be it.
That's a really good point. I actually, when the White Sox were, I think from 2008 up until 2016, they consistently did the exact same thing year to year. They would have average players, and they would then buy 1 or 2 more average players and try to skate on that and hope that we can compete. But it never worked. And I think this pertains to almost every sport. being in the middle is the worst place to be.
Absolutely.
And,
especially in baseball.
Oh yeah, no.
Especially in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, you can't if you don't have the resources to buy every player.
Yep.
And you're not developing players in the minors, you are not going to win anything.
You're the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, and there's a few teams out there that are like that. But you have to be willing to, like, use that term. You have to be willing to sell the farm.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be willing to sell everything and go 2-3 years of straight horrific seasons, but it's worked for teams in the past.
Yeah.
You will get out of it if you make smart choices with your drafting. And the Padres have made good choices with some of their players. Yeah. Some of the players they've drafted. But they got to give them time, but they also got to... They can't just rely on those three. They have to kind of fit them in with a lot of other players. So hopefully they do that.
I mean, I think you and I both agree that I think they're going to more or less be around where they are now.
Yeah.
Maybe possibly a little worse.
Mm-hmm. But possibly a little less.
A little better. But not that much better.
No.
I think best case, unlike the Giants, where I said, well, maybe they could get to 80 wins from 65 or from the mid-60s. Mm-hmm. These guys, I think best case, we're looking at 75, 76 wins.
So, I mean, I have them in my prediction. In my prediction, as we stand right now, no other trades or no other acquisitions were made.
Because they've just made basically bullpen.
Yes.
They've made bullpen trades essentially so far.
If everything stays, they're competing for the 4th, 5th spot with the Giants.
Okay.
They're not. I don't see them competing with the other 3 teams in the NL West. Mm-hmm. But who knows? I mean, for right now, as it sits right now, I don't think so. Give them a few years,
and maybe
then we'll be talking about them.
Okay, sounds good. So. We got the Padres down. Let's go ahead and move on to the Colorado Rockies. One of my most enjoyable teams to watch. I've loved the Rockies for a long time, mostly because no matter what time of no matter how good or bad their club is, they always mash the ball because of the conditions of their ballpark.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that about them. I mean, some of those numbers are so inflated, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
But it really makes watching them so enjoyable. I love when the White Sox go down there, or just like randomly watching them on TV or on MLB TV. It's just a very entertaining team. And honestly, last year's team obviously didn't disappoint.
Didn't disappoint. That team did not disappoint. They were good. They made they made a wild card position. Mm-hmm. And they have some really strong players on there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, one of the big deals this offseason was Wade Davis.
Yeah.
That was a huge contract. One of the biggest for the biggest for a bullpen arm ever.
Absolutely.
So, having Wade Davis now, granted, he came from the Cubs. We lost him from the Cubs. But
Drew's so pissed. He's so pissed.
Yeah.
But tell me, Stevie, I literally texted him about this, and he was like, I'm so upset at the Cubs right now. They're not doing anything. Why?
I was mad. But whatever.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Rockies, man.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fair. Go ahead. Talk about the Rockies, Drew. It's pissed
his signing was huge for the Rockies.
Absolutely.
And I was kind of like, wow, they just kind of threw aside Greg Holland. Like, who's a decent closer in himself. Yeah. So, I mean, Wade Davis is huge. Now, again, like you said, the field itself, the ballpark itself, doesn't favor pitchers.
No.
At all.
No.
So, and Wade Davis has been rocked. Wade Davis has had his ups and downs.
Let me ask you a question. Does the gaining of Wade Davis negate the loss of Blackmon to the Cubs?
What do you mean Blackmon to the Cubs?
Well, the pitcher that you guys got from the Rockies.
Oh, was it Blackmon?
Yeah, it was Blackmon.
I need to check.
Remember I texted you?
No, Chatwood.
Yeah, Chatwood. I'm sorry. I don't know why that
Blackman's playing back. They're not getting rid of Blackmon.
Does
Blackman's their center fielder. I was like, whoa, dude. I was like, whoa.
Relax. Anyway, no, but does the loss of Chatwood, is that negated by Wade Davis, the signing of Wade Davis?
Yes. I mean, you always like to have good starting pitchers. Now, Chatwood is a very good pitcher. Again, his numbers are kind of a little on the short end, but it has a lot to do with the ballpark.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, I was excited that the Cubs picked him up.
Yep.
I don't think Wade Davis negates that, though. Wade Davis, it's a different pitcher. Wade Davis is only going to pitch 1 to 2 innings. And as we've seen in the past, because I was ticked off about this back when the Cubs, even in 2016, when they won the World Series, Wade Davis cannot pitch more. Wade Davis would come in prior to, what's his name? The guy that went to the Yankees. That the Yankees signed.
Oh, yeah.
The fast
Chapman.
Yeah. Like, Wade Davis would come in, he would pitch more than 30 pitches, and then he just goes downhill.
Well, here's the thing. You're as a closer, you're not really supposed to pitch that many pitches in the first
place. The game's changing.
Yeah, that is
We've
true.
seen this. The
that
game is changing. The managers are asking more out of their starting pitchers. I'll talk about Kenley Jansen here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And how possibly starting him in late 7th inning
changes the game.
Changes the entire game.
Absolutely.
Changes the entire output of the game.
But I think that's an unfair criticism of Wade Davis too, because don't forget that in the playoffs he was getting used in the 8th inning, going all the way to the 9th. And yeah, I think he had 1-2 bad games, but for the most part he did a really good job. He was a very serviceable.
Don't get me wrong, he's a great closer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love Wade Davis.
Yeah.
And does he deserve this big of a paycheck? I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm more of a starting pitcher guy that gets the money.
Same.
Not relievers and closers that get the money.
Yeah.
But good for him. That's unbelievable. But I don't think it makes their pitching staff better, especially losing Chatwood. Because Wade Davis is not. He is better than Holland. Mm-hmm. But there's not like a massive gap difference.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right. And I want to say this, though. I was actually extremely impressed by their staff last year because I'm so used to staffs in Colorado getting rocked year to year and just being impressed by their offense. Mm-hmm. But part of the reason why they had as much success is because they actually had a really good pitching staff. Would I say that it's like top 5 in the majors? Probably not. But it was definitely good enough to make them as good as they were. And possibly in the future, if they continue to develop or just have slight improvements, they could be a real threat in the West.
They could, but they also need a starting pitcher. One of their things is another starting pitcher.
An ace, right?
An ace.
Okay.
John Gray is good, but John Gray I don't think is an ace. They also have Chad Bettis, Tyler Anderson, Kyle Freeland. So they're not a great pitching staff. So they need another starting pitcher. You still have. If they go out and pick up an Arrieta or a Darvish, that's a pretty good pickup for them. But I don't know if they'll do it. At the same time...
That's a beer break, guys. Yeah, go ahead.
At the same time, I think they need to start adding another offense. They need to start looking at other offense. Because here's the big thing, and I'm thinking a year ahead now. Your two biggest names in Blackmon and Arenado are free agents next year.
Right, and that could ruin everything.
That could be a turning point to where the Colorado Rockies, as of next year, become a rebuild team.
Yep, absolutely. That's a good point. And everything I've read, especially about Arenado, seems like he's destined to not play for the Rockies because the demand on him is going to be insane. That dude has everything. Great hitter, great defender. He's if any team gets him.
You choose Machado
or him.
I choose Arenado.
I personally, but honestly, I don't blame you for doing so because he's so talented.
Yes.
But you know why I don't choose him? Because he plays in Colorado. I need to see. No offense. I love Colorado, love the Rockies, love the fans. I've always loved watching them play baseball. So this isn't meant to offend, obviously. It's just, and we all know this. When you play for Colorado,
your
most likely,
your numbers are inflated a little bit.
That's been the thing for as long as we watch.
That's
baseball.
why Charlie Blackmon's one of the best hitters in the league. I get that.
Right.
But he can still.
Absolutely. No, I'm not. I think Arenado, when he leaves, if he leaves, I think whatever team is lucky enough to get him will absolutely have a stud.
Absolutely.
But I think that Machado is still going to be marginally better than Arenado. It's not like a world star difference. I'm not saying that he's so significantly better, Machado, that it's insane. No, it's marginal, but just enough for me to say I'd rather have him by a little bit.
Absolutely.
But either way, one of the problems I think that the Rockies is that they're going to face with him, he's going to demand a lot of money. This is going to be one of those record-breaking type of contracts.
Him and Blackmon, and I don't think they'll be able to afford both.
But right, so they're going to have to decide which one's going to be either they're going to shell a crap ton of money. Probably these guys are going to be looking at 8 years, 200 million, 250 million, easy. Can they do that for both? No. Will they do that for one?
I don't know because, and I mean, back when we were talking in our winter meetings discussion, and look at the free agency that the big slow free agency that we have going on now.
Yeah, it's the cold
teams
meetings.
Don't want to pay that money. They lost they found they found out looking at other teams that paid big money for these big name players, and they just flopped.
Yeah,
they were just. I mean, they didn't. Yes, they're good. Yes, they're fantastic. But they're not the players you want them to be. Right. You look back and you're like, does he command now that $240 million contract? I'm looking at you, right fielder for the Cubs. But
so much so.
Like, does he demand that? No. And I don't think players are willing to do that. Clubs aren't willing to do that. Managers and GMs are not willing to do that anymore.
Right.
So
no, it really isn't the era of the big contract the way it used to be. Because, I mean, look at how many players are still on the free agent market. What you're saying, it's absolutely right. I mean, Kane, I can't believe he's still on the market. That guy is a legit player. I mean, he's not a stud. He's not the best player in the league. But if you're a contender who wants to improve your team that one extra push, who wants to give yourself one extra push, you absolutely sign a guy like Kane.
I mean, prior to the winter meetings, everyone was saying Hosmer would demand $200 million.
Yeah,
but what are the deals that he's gotten?
There's no way
140, 147, and it's like teams don't want to pay that.
Well, it's because of luxury tax. Like the MLB has finally gotten really good about making sure teams get screwed if they go over that. I think that threshold or whatever. So
I get that, but you're signing him for a 7-year contract, and what happens if he flops out after the second year? What happens if he gets a decline and Hosmer's not the same player?
No. And there's a very strong possibility, especially in the case of Hosmer, that that's what's going to happen. He's already slowly starting. You're slowly starting to see a regression. So there's absolutely the possibility that signing him would be a huge risk. But
so not to get off track, I mean, back to Arenado Blackman, they need to find another player, and maybe Hosmer is that guy to bring in.
Yeah.
You add Hosmer to this team. You add a Kane to this team. Kane, the only problem with Kane is he's a center fielder.
Right.
But you add a Hosmer to this team, man, that team could be good. You added a Chris Iannetta from the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks lost Chris Iannetta. He's not an offensive catcher, but he is a good defensive catcher, which could which could prove good for this pitching staff. So this is a team that can compete for another wild card. They are not competing for the number 1 spot in the NL West.
That was going to be my next question. Kind of how we did it with all the the Padres and the Giants. Where do we see them? They had 87 wins last year. What are we looking at next year?
I think about the same. Depending.
So do you think they're a shoo-in for the wild card number 2? And you have to compare them obviously to all the teams in the East.
No, not yet.
I don't think so either.
Not yet.
Yeah,
because I mean now you're talking about an Angels team that can prove. You're talking about a Seattle team that can do good.
Right.
You're talking about I'm thinking AL. Sorry, I'm thinking AL here.
Yeah.
But you have St. Louis who's good. You have Milwaukee who's good.
Yeah.
You have other teams that can prove to be pretty big. That can be pretty big contenders.
Yeah.
So I don't think a shoo-in to say 2 teams from the NL West are going to be in the wild card.
Right.
There's a possibility.
No doubt. And for the first time in a long time since they had that World Series run, I look at the Rockies and I'm like, they're legit. Like yes. I think that they're a team to be scared of, especially while they have the players that they currently have.
Yes.
And even without additions like we talked about that would make them that much better, I still think they're contenders, and I still think not necessarily for a World Series. I think that does require that ace pitcher. That one more addition, et cetera, et cetera. But they are playoff contenders.
That requires an ace pitcher, a setup man, and one more big bat.
Yeah,
that's when you start considering this team a contender.
A World Series.
World Series contender.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
But will they do that? I don't know.
Right.
Excuse me. But at the same time, they really have to start looking for the future.
Yeah.
Because it could get ugly for them.
Real fast.
Absolutely. So, I think they're around the same page. I think they're around the same numbers. Mm-hmm. Losing Chatwood is a big loss to their starting pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
So they could possibly lose some games.
Right.
They could possibly lower the win total.
Yeah.
Wade Davis may save some games for them, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And I apologize for some of the background noise, guys. My dogs are over there playing, so sorry about that. But no, absolutely. I do agree with you that most likely I think that they're going to be in the same place. Somewhere in the 80s, fighting for that wild card 1, wild card 2 spot.
Yes.
So not a bad place to be, obviously, for a fan perspective. I think Colorado Rockies fans will be happy next year. But, like you said, they have to be careful. And
Yes.
they have to start building for that future real quick. But let's go ahead and move on to the Diamondbacks, who were my favorite surprise of last year. Didn't see them coming. They should have, though, theoretically, because they have had a consistently decent ball club.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when they added JD Martinez, that basically changed everything and made them to a freaking, elite ball club.
Well, I disagree with you on that.
Okay.
Because if you look at the numbers prior to JD Martinez,
They were still playing
They
good
were
baseball.
15 games over 500.
That's a good point.
They were still a damn good team.
Right.
And I think if they didn't have JD Martinez and Yasmani didn't get hurt,
Yeah.
Yasmani Tomas didn't get hurt,
Yeah.
I think those guys still would have been
A good team.
A good team. I think they would have had just as many wins as they did with JD Martinez.
I mean, you look at their team, just from an offensive standpoint, they're pretty stacked. When you have Goldschmidt, Lamb, and Yasmani Tomas,
Yeah.
you're in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of was talking to you about this earlier, but Jake Lamb is a great hitter.
Absolutely.
A great power hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, he kind of caught me off guard. For a while there, I kind of assumed he was just an average ball player. And I'm not sure if he took advantage of the, I guess, what would we call it, the fly ball era? Or
Yeah.
The juice ball era.
Juice ball era.
I'm not sure if that's what really is helping him right now be as prolific as he is, but I mean, their lineup, you're absolutely right. Even without JD Martinez, it's pretty stacked.
It's pretty scattered. And they have their shortstop,
Yeah.
Marte.
Yeah,
Marte is an up-and-coming shortstop.
absolutely.
He's good. And then you have Peralta in right field. Their team is stacked. The big question that I have for this,
Yeah,
if JD Martinez doesn't come back,
yeah.
do they replace him? Are they okay with this lineup? Are the Diamondbacks satisfied with this lineup?
I think.
Especially since they've seen what JD Martinez can do. I mean, he's good. And like I said, they were just as good of a team prior to him. But imagine having him for a full season now.
Well, here's my thing. I guess my question is, from what I've seen, from every report I've seen, has JD Martinez really been somebody that they've said the Diamondbacks are favored to sign? It seems like he's basically, everybody says he's going elsewhere.
They've talked to him, but I don't think they're a favorite to sign.
Right.
But it all depends on if Boston or some of those other teams want to pay him that big.
Right.
And if they don't want to pay him that big, and by chance Arizona can come in here and say, hey, we can get close to this number,
Right.
there's a possibility.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a possibility that he can stay.
Yeah.
Do I think it is? I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see.
Right.
So that's my biggest question. Are they okay with this? Do they go out and sign someone else? Do they go out and try and find another...
I think if they lose him, I think they kind of stand pat.
I think so, too.
And mostly because I think kind of what you said goes into their mind. They obviously know the numbers. They know the analytics. They know that they were already good. They were good to go. They just added him to kind of bolster that and maybe make them into a World Series contender. And, I mean, to be honest, for a little bit, we talked about this during the playoffs. We both didn't really give them a chance, but I think they're one of the teams, unlike the Rockies, they're actually just missing one piece. I don't think they need 3 or 4 pieces. I think they just need one more superstar. But that's if you keep JD Martinez.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
So here's the other thing here
Yeah.
that I think they need.
Yeah.
They need pitchers. They need...
And that's true. That's true.
And here's the thing that I'm worried about, because the Diamondbacks were shopping Greinke at the winter meetings.
Yeah.
That's like you lose Greinke, you shop Greinke, you lose your ace.
Yeah.
You lose your number one ace, and you're left with Robbie Ray, Patrick Corbin. You're left with those guys.
which is decent.
Decent,
But it's not great.
It's not great.
And I don't think it. Even with the team they have, if you lose Greinke,
I think Greinke gave him like 17 wins or 15 wins last season.
He was a really good pitcher. He has always been a really good pitcher, so that's not really a surprise to anybody. Yeah, 17-7, 3.20, 215 strikeouts.
I mean,
he's as consistent as you can get.
You lose him,
yeah,
you lose your wild card.
But you know what I don't like?
I hate to say that. You lose him,
you lose your wild card.
You lose your wild
Absolutely.
card.
No. He gives you that many that many more wins. They probably without him they're probably an 82 win team.
You lost Iannetta to the Rockies. We just discussed that. Mm-hmm. That's a big loss behind the plate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So to me, you could have JD Martinez back, you could have this, but you don't concentrate on your pitchers and your setup people.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it really doesn't matter. They need to focus on their pitching is what they really need to do.
Right.
Archie Bradley, who was a real good relief guy, who was a real good setup man.
Yeah.
Because you lost Fernando
Rodney.
Fernando Rodney to the Twins.
Yeah.
You start moving him to closer. He has the stuff. He has 100 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
He has amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But any ballpark and any ball player will tell you, going from a setup man to a closer,
that's hard.
Is hard.
Yeah. No, because the thing with closing is it's so mental.
Absolutely.
And it's completely different. And that's how
game.
you see so many people fail.
Yeah.
As closers, even though they have all the stuff.
I compare it to taking the last shot of an NBA game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So
certain players
you have to have that cold blood in you.
That's a really good call.
To go out and make that call. And
absolutely.
We haven't seen that from Bradley because they've had Fernando Rodney.
Right.
So that's a big question. He does have the stuff. I'm not taking anything away from him because the guy is straight filthy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's a big question. Their depth chart as far as their offense is good.
But see,
and there is talks about them contacting the Marlins for Realmuto.
Oh,
which
that would be
a great
signing
for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But I think the question is still their pitching, just like with the other couple teams that we talked about in this league. In this division, it all comes down to their pitching,
right? And that's kind of the thing. I like Zach Greinke to me. I like him. I think you're right. If they lose him, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, Zach Greinke is a number 2. A club like this, if they could find somehow a number 1 and pair him with a Greinke, I mean that club would be a contender. That would be for a World Series contender every year. Mostly, you want to know why I think Greinke's number 2? Because he kind of comes short in the playoffs. He falls a little flat. He's not a very clutch pitcher, in my opinion. I think in the 2 games he pitched in the playoffs last year, he didn't really pitch that well.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of think they would do well if they were to add one more, at least one more number 2. Yes. That will kind of solidify their staff, really make them that playoff, underdog / contender for the World Series, So. I mean, I'm not sure if they'll be able to compete with the Dodgers, as we're going to discuss in a little bit, but I think one more stud pitcher could possibly put them in the realm.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Or if they get another bat, I think, and they keep Greinke,
it
keeps them.
When you say another bat on top of JD Martinez?
No, I'm talking without JD Martinez. I'm talking if they either re-sign JD Martinez or they get Realmuto or, I mean... The only bad thing is you have the 3 big names out there in the Kane, Moustakas, and Hosmer. Those positions are already filled by that team.
Right.
So you can't really go get those guys. So JD Martinez would be preferable.
Right.
But even if you can trade for a Realmuto, that's a big jump.
So kind of again, where do you see them next year?
I still see him in with Greinke.
Wild card favorite? Yeah, with Greinke, wild card favorites.
Ooh, I don't know.
So you actually see them kind of on the decline with the Rockies next year, a little bit? Or just you don't know enough to say surely that they're definitely a shoo-in. You think that there's going to be too much competition? Is that what you're kind of...
I think there's going to be a lot of competition.
Right.
Especially coming from...
The Central.
The NL Central.
Yeah, I think the Central is going to be a really big next year.
It's going to be... To me, it's just going to be too much competition from the NL Central. And even some of the moves that the NL East has made, it's not going to be a shoo-in for these guys.
No.
And like I said, you lose Greinke, you lose your wild card.
Right.
You need to make sure you have an ace on that team.
Right.
And I'd have them If this staff stays the same without JD Martinez,
Right.
I still have him. I would say yes in a wild card, and I would say yes number 2 in the NL West.
Right.
But it all depends on Greinke.
Yeah.
JD Martinez could possibly be a killer for them, but like I said, they were good before him.
Yeah.
So I have him number 2.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm kind of sticking with them at number 2 as well. Though the thing about the West is kind of I'm not sure about the West is the same way that I was last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there could be a potential for a fallback for the second and third place teams. Do I like them? Yes, absolutely. But there is that potential where they could potentially lose maybe 5 more games and go down a little bit where they lose their place in the wild card.
Absolutely.
Especially with what you said, with the teams in the NL Central becoming better. There's just potential that they could potentially lose a couple more games and get out of the wild card altogether.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken also, the Arizona Diamondbacks are one of the teams that actually, I don't want to say beat up on the Dodgers, but I think they may have either won the series or come close to tying the series in the season series with the Dodgers. And they could lose a couple more games to those guys. Yeah. Because those guys are stacked.
And for the foreseeable future.
So
absolutely,
it's one of those things that I don't know if...
But you know what they do have going for them, the Diamondbacks? Unlike the Rockies, outside of JD Martinez and a possible Greinke loss, they're not really. I don't think they're in danger of losing any of their big hitting talents. I think they can keep that squad together. I think their pitching is where we're kind of iffy with Greinke.
Yes,
but I don't think they have any threat of losing, like, let's say a Goldschmidt anytime soon.
No.
So
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah. I think they're good. I think their offensive depth chart is solidified for a couple more years. So they have the possibility, but they have to be willing to spend the money.
Yeah.
For some big name pitchers.
It would be really nice to see a team like the Diamondbacks or the Rockies spend that kind of money and make themselves into a power in baseball.
Absolutely. I would love to see.
Absolutely.
I would love to see.
Yeah.
The Yankee, sorry, not the Yankees. The Diamondbacks.
Drew.
The Diamondbacks or the Rockies be that. Yeah. Compete with the Dodgers. Absolutely, like be neck and neck with the Dodgers.
Well, speaking of the Dodgers, Drew, I mean, we know what they did last year, man. World Series, almost won, Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shouldn't say almost won, but they made it a hell of a ride over there. Mm-hmm. Absolutely crushed their way through the National League. Sorry about that. Especially made a mockery of the Cubs.
Mockery of the Cubs.
Yeah, thank you. But no, they were an absolute powerhouse, and they deserved all the accolades they had last year. I mean, it's such a difficult team to find a flaw in because they're stacked. I mean, you can obviously we're going to find them right now, but I'm saying from what you saw last year, the staff, the pitching staff, the relief, the offense, they had it all, and their numbers and their wins and their World Series run absolutely showed it.
Yep. And that's exactly how I feel. There's flaws in this team. There's minor flaws. It's not a big gaping hole that they need to fill.
Yeah.
Nothing of that nature.
Yeah.
I think if there's one thing that is absolutely a need for this team is the setup guys. Because they lost 2 big setup guys this season. This offseason. And that's going to be their biggest thing.
Yeah.
They lost Morrow to the Cubs. And they lost, who was the other guy?
They lost Avilan, Luis Avilan, to the White Sox.
To the White Sox.
Lost him, yeah.
But Tony Watson is still a free agent.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any. I haven't heard anything about the Dodgers re-signing him.
So
Joe Blanton, who was there last year, was a full letdown for them.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the postseason. In the big part in the regular season, he was big. But in the postseason, he was good. Pedro Baez, who they wanted to be the number 1 guy, isn't doing as well as they thought.
Can I say something about their bullpen, though? Any bullpen that has Kenley Jansen in it, even if they lose some players, the fact that they have that guy,
absolutely,
it really does make up for a lot. With having a guy of his, I mean, he's the best bullpen pitcher in the league. It's not bar none to me. Closer, he's God.
Let's get the best closer in the league.
Okay.
He's the best closer.
Well, yeah, it's tough to say bullpen arm.
When you say bullpen arm, there's a lot of bullpen arms, but I'm thinking in the terms of setup man and your closer.
Well, would you say that he's, of the two, the setup man closer, I think he's the best. He's as good as you can get because he can do both roles. He can come in the 8th and the 9th, pitch both innings,
Can he?
And be a stud. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I don't think so. We
Well,
saw
he
that in the World Series.
Yeah, but
we saw that twice in the World Series.
But he was doing that consistently for the entirety of the playoffs. Just because he failed a little bit in the World Series.
But he was coming in for 1 out in the 8th. And then going into 9th.
Yeah.
He was pitching the full 8th and 9th innings.
No, against the Cubs, he had 1 or 2 games, I thought, where he pitched the 8th and 9th. No?
No, because the Cubs, the pitching staff for the Dodgers absolutely dominated the Cubs.
That's true.
And,
that's very true.
And especially Morrow. Morrow dominated the Cubs. Yeah. Now you lose him as a setup man.
Morrow had a hell of a playoffs in general.
And that's the thing. You're losing a big guy. And like we had discussed earlier, closers are closers. Closers are meant to go in your 9th inning. They walk out in the 9th. They get you the 3 outs, and you're done.
Right.
Granted, there's been some closers that can go in the 8th and absolutely still shut down a team.
Right.
But I don't know if he's built for that. I don't know. He can get you a 1 out 8th and then into the 9th. But if he went over 30, 35 pitches, you could see that people started getting to him.
Yeah.
So,
but
I'm not taking anything away from the guy.
Right.
Best closer in the league.
Okay.
Absolutely best closer in the league. But you need a setup man to get him into the 9th, to get him into the late 8th.
But here's my thing. What we're discussing right now, I think we agree during the regular season, their offense, their starting pitching is going to carry them. They're going to be fine. You know where they're going to have trouble because of losses in the bullpen? In the playoffs. I don't think their regular season is going to be impacted where they're going to fall off the map or they're going to suddenly become a second-tier team. They're probably still going to be in the high 90s in terms of wins, even with a bullpen that's lost some high-end players. But in the playoffs, having a good bullpen is everything. And if they don't rebuild it by those losses alone, if they don't add maybe one good arm, like an excellent arm after losing Avilan and Morrow,
mm-hmm.
I think that's where they're going to be in trouble. Maybe in the National League, what's it called, NLCS and the World Series, that'll put them into a deeper hole. But I absolutely think they're going to steamroll the West. When I say steamroll, obviously you're competing against the Rockies and the Diamondbacks, so they'll have some competition. But I mean that they're probably going to still win the division by like 5 to 10 games.
Absolutely, I think they do, especially with their offensive talent. But
yeah.
Their bullpen, you say their bullpen, yes, their bullpen could be that hole. But you want to know what I also think could be that hole? Their starting pitching. Outside of Kershaw.
Wow.
Rich Hill is 1 year older. He's now going to be 38 years old.
I know where you're going with this.
Kenta Maeda is not that great of a pitcher. Yeah. I mean, he's good, don't get me wrong.
But he's not great.
But he's not great. You lose a Darvish, who was a strikeout machine in the regular season.
Right.
And they don't have any... There's no talks about them re-signing him. So... It's now going to be Kershaw and an over-the-hill Rich Hill,
right,
and a couple other guys.
Yeah.
Maybe Kenta Maeda, who, I'm sorry. And if that's the case, then you're really going to have to rely on your bullpen, which they no longer have.
Well, to the same effect.
Exactly.
Right.
So that could be the big hole. Now, will they lose the NL West because of that?
That's what I was
Absolutely no.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely not.
Good. But in the playoffs.
That's
where we're facing a weakness.
That's where you're facing.
But see, I've read a couple of things that say that Dodgers are actually trying to be a little bit more conservative. They don't want to be taxed. They don't want to get over that.
They're looking for next year.
Right. Which is fine, but it's going to be so odd if, given the financial powerhouse that they've been, if next year this pitching and relief staff hasn't somehow been improved. If it looks like right now, coming into next year, I'll be shocked.
Well, you got to think of it this way too. They want to come under the luxury tax this year because I'm going to give you 2 reasons. They want to go after a big name guy like in Harper,
Machado,
Arenado.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know
what is it? Is it Josh Donaldson?
They have Seager and Turner. I don't know if they're going to want to have any of those guys, but yeah, I get your point.
Like they're going to want to go after a big name.
Mm.
I mean, you can make a case for Harper playing out in center field.
Oh, but
it's going to be disgusting. It would be the sick. But I'm not even thinking. But okay, here's my second point. Kershaw could possibly opt out next season. And Kershaw has made statements that he wants to come back hometown to the Rangers.
But what did we talk about? Even in I think our first podcast, we see Kershaw as a lifer. I really do. I think he's a legend. I think he's...
If they don't win this year, I think he's
You
out.
don't think so? He thinks
Absolutely.
You think he
that,
jumps?
This was going to be one of my
But
points.
why to the Rangers, though?
This
That doesn't make any sense. They're not going to be better.
They're going to want to pay him. I mean, one, they're going to pay him a lot of money.
But so are the Dodgers.
But so can the Yankees.
Ah.
So can the Cubs.
See, that's where you're talking about a
so
different
can
story.
you're talking a totally different storyline.
Yeah.
And especially, he's been with them so long, and they've won the division title, 5 years in a row?
Right.
But what have they proven in the playoffs besides getting to the Game 7 of the World Series?
Well, but one could say that he's kind of had a part to play in it because he hasn't been that dominant on the playoff stage.
Absolutely.
I mean, last year, and we discussed this also in one of our previous podcasts, she started improving. He had a much better playoff. But it still wasn't, Clemens, Pettit-esque from the past where you know that the moment they get on the mound that they're going to give up zeros.
I agree.
Verlander, the guys like that where he was dominant as hell.
I fully agree.
And
but
that's something, if I was a big club, like the Yankees, the Cubs, the Red Sox, and I was like, man, I really want another stud, I would kind of be iffy on that. Because you're going to shell out a crap ton of money for a guy like Kershaw.
absolutely, you are. Especially with coming off 2 years of back problems.
Right.
Who's to say he's the same pitcher he is? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm giving him like 99% that he's going to be the same pitcher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no.
But
we're in no way trying to talk down Kershaw.
Yes.
He's the best pitcher in the league.
Best pitcher in the league.
Not even close.
I'm-
We're not arguing that.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm arguing like, what if that 1%
Right.
he's not the same?
Right.
And then your offensive power you cannot do that.
Right.
Especially when you're going into the playoffs against other teams that may have staff pitching.
Right.
Or if you start looking in the future and you start handing them the World Series this year, and I say handing them like they'll get there.
Yeah. Which I'm not doing, by the way.
The AL teams have some power.
No,
we saw that in Houston. The Yankees, the Red Sox. I mean, they have legit teams.
Baseball's a random game, so there are no guarantees in baseball
Absolutely.
ever. But if I were to say that baseball runs through like a division or something like that, or a league, I would say that currently it runs through the American League in terms of like the power teams. Because you have the Yankees and you have the Astros, and I really think that those two teams, for the foreseeable future, unless the Cubs improve their pitching staff,
Yes.
I think those teams are going to be the top two
Or
teams.
Cubs get Harper next year, but
We'll
talk about that later. We'll talk that later.
Wealth of riches. Anyway, but just to close out the analysis of the Dodgers here, again, they had 104 wins, 58 losses. Do you see a recession next year?
I actually do.
By how many wins? Well, like, where do you see them wins-wise?
I see them probably losing 5 to 10, between 5 to 10 wins. They're still top of the league. They stopped the division. But I can see them because of their bullpen and because of their aging and not so good starting pitching other than Kershaw. I can see them losing some games. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I can see... I mean, Cody Bellinger's a beast. Corey Seager's a good kid, a damn good shortstop. Justin Turner is great, but I can see teams pitching differently to those guys.
Right.
I can see teams like kind of adjusting to those guys. I do see them losing 5 games.
Five games around there. So you think they're going to be about a 99 win team
99,
next year?
yes.
I think that's a safe prediction. I really think with a weakened bullpen, and apologize for all the noise. We're refilling on the beers as we go here. With a weakened bullpen, and as you said, a slightly older pitching staff, the offense is going to be the same. I think the offense is going to be prolific. They're going to do great. But I think that there's a potential to lose, I'd say 5 to 10 games as well. I say worst case for them, you're looking at a mid-90s team where it's like 94 to 96.
Yes.
Best case, I'm going to be honest, I don't think they hit 100 wins next year. I really think best case is like 98, 99.
Possible.
That's not saying anything bad. It's not like you're in a bad place when you win 98 or 99 games. They're not going to be that much worse where you're going to be like, oh crap, they suck.
No.
They're still going to be a big threat in the National League to win.
But I think in my prediction, you're going to see the holes.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching-wise.
Yeah.
Hitting-wise, you have no worries. Defense-wise, you have no worries.
Right.
Pitching-wise, you're going to see some holes.
Okay, so kind of I agree. So let's just wrap this up, our West preview, and I guess do some kind of predictions here.
So give me your 1 to 5.
My 1 to 5 is going to be, and I think yours is going to be the exact same thing. Same order, 1 to 3, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Rockies, I think we flip the 2. I think
That's exactly
I think the Giants go 4, the Padres go 5 next year.
That's exactly what I think. Now, with
the Giants have a chance to go 3. I will say if there's a team out of the top 3 that I would give an outside shot of dropping out, it would be the Rockies, and I think the Giants, if everything goes right, they go 3.
I can see that.
Yeah.
If everything goes right. And again, on certain acquisitions that could happen within the next couple weeks.
Sure.
Certain trades that can happen or certain losses in the case of the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
This could all change. But as of now, I have Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Rockies, Giants, Padres.
Okay. All right, good. So we're kind of on the same page there. Now, before we go into our beer review, what I did want to do is I wanted to discuss, basically kind of cap up on the rumors of what's going on in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 biggest in my thing, I think one of them has kind of dissipated where it's not really going to happen anymore, the Machado rumor, and then the Yelich, what's going on around Yelich. The Marlins are obviously looking to shop him, and in my opinion, he's the biggest player on the market right now. And I absolutely think outside, like I'm saying like talent-wise, his youth,
yes,
and where he can be in the future. If you're looking at a raw numbers perspective, JD Martinez probably beats him out. But, so I guess, do you think like me that the Machado market is gone now because they want too much? And where do you see Yelich headed?
The Machado market is gone for now.
Okay.
It will heat up again mid-season.
You think he's going to be a mid-season
Absolutely.
Deadline pick? For a contender?
For one, a contender. 2, because that contender, Machado can put the contender in a real big contention spot. So, to me, it's going to be a big mid-season thing. Right now, they're not looking for anything. They're asking way too much from teams right now. So I would wait on Machado.
Okay.
I don't see him.
So you don't want to. But what I'm saying is, for the current offseason, you think it's done.
I think it's done.
Okay.
So I think if there's one team, I mean, granted, and I hate to say this, but the Yankees could step in, but I think the Orioles owner has already said he doesn't want to do business with the Yankees. So
why would you want to trade within the same division?
Absolutely,
especially a guy like Machado.
Well, especially after you got a guy like Stanton. Like, why are you gonna?
They're already a powerhouse.
Exactly. Why do you want to do that for the major leagues? Like, I see that as an owner, I wouldn't want to do it either.
No.
White Sox could still come and play.
Yeah, I think there's an outside chance.
There's an outside chance.
Outside, yeah.
But I think it's done. To me, I really think it's done. I think we won't see it again until mid-season for a contender. And I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he just stays and he becomes a free agent. He's. I mean, that adds a lot. That adds some big money to the free agent class next year.
Yeah.
As far as Yelich,
yeah.
Yes, Marlins want to get rid of him, and to me, he is the best young talent. One of the best young talents in the major leagues.
On the market, yeah.
On the market. Well, not even on the market, just in the major league, just in general.
One
of the best young talents in the league.
So where do you think the Marlins send him to? But what contender has a need for him right now? I mean, you could theoretically say any team needs a good player like him. But,
yes.
But I'm just saying, like, which contender do you think has a really good shot of getting a guy like him?
Contender? I don't know.
Well, my assumption is that that's the kind of club that would trade for him. A contending club. I don't see why it wouldn't be a contending club.
I don't know. Maybe the Brewers. I mean, I don't know. That's hard, man. Where are they? Because
you know what club I like for him, but I think he may be positioned out of that club. The Cardinals. I would really, if the Cardinals were truly like in contention the way if they added a guy like Yelich, I'm not sure if he fits on their roster. But if they could get a player like him, that would be an absolutely huge addition for a club like that.
It could. I mean, yeah, I could see that.
But, okay, the thing is, I think we both agree that there are going to be a lot of suitors for him. I think we talked about this during the winter meetings podcast, but we also agreed that the Cubs would be a good look for him. But like I told you, if they were to trade away a guy like Schwarber and, what's his name? Almora. They would have to give up guys like that.
They would have to give up good guys. They would have to give up some real good guys.
Right.
But the other one that I could say possibly, I don't know. I mean, moving him to like a.
Because I don't think the Marlins are in the same bind as the Orioles, where they are worried about trading within their division. The Marlins are the Marlins; they don't give a shit.
No,
their entire purpose is just to get as much talent right now as possible. They don't care who they trade with.
Yes.
So,
but the team I have in mind that could possibly trade for him because they have good prospects is the Brewers.
Yeah, the Brewers would be a nice place for him to play.
Absolutely.
Especially given the fact that they came out of nowhere last year and
Absolutely.
they had a successful season. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, who knows?
Yeah.
But they're also shopping Real Muto.
Yeah.
So where does he go?
Well,
that's another one. Where does he go? Where does he?
Didn't you say that you wanted the Rockies? You thought the Rockies were a really good place for him?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, but he's kind of like Yelich. He can fit in on any contender and improve them significantly.
Absolutely.
Except the only thing about him is I'm not really sure. I haven't really read where the market is for him myself. Have you read anything about where, the market is for him?
For Real Muto?
Yeah, for Real Muto. Yeah.
Houston.
Oh, get the hell out of here, man.
Houston stinks.
Stop it.
They're looking for a catcher because look who you got as catcher. You're switching between Evan Gattis and Brian McCain, who are two older guys.
Yeah.
Like, granted, they're great guys, but
this is the rich getting richer, man.
Dude, if they get Real Muto, if they at least push for him.
But if they get Real Muto, like I'm gonna be honest with you, I already don't see much competition in the American League. With those teams, with the big clubs, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, those are the big ones. No one's really going to be up to their standards for a little bit. I mean, the Indians are still there. I'm not giving them their due, obviously, but I feel like the Indians have kind of lost a little bit. They've lost a little bit of their potential.
Well, they lost Joe Smith to Houston
and Santana as well. So they're a little bit, in my opinion. I'm not really positive.
They're like they may be like a little bit on the outside looking in. To those three teams.
To the World Series contenders.
Yes.
They'll be in the playoffs.
Yes.
Because the American League Central is...
Those three teams, I think, when it comes down to those three teams, it comes down to Houston and it comes down to the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
But if Houston can pick up a guy like Real Muto, who is, right now, is a cheap commodity.
If they pick up Real Muto, I think...
And they're still looking for an ace starting pitcher.
And if the Yankees don't sign Machado...
Absolutely.
Then I think you're looking at the Astros as truly the clear-cut favorite in the American League. Well, in baseball.
Yeah.
To win the World Series. And obviously, again, game is played on the field.
Yeah.
We're not going to guarantee anything in baseball, but it does kind of put them a level above.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Drew, I think it's been a great baseball discussion today. Let's move on to our closing section here. I loved this beer, man. This is I don't know, man. I'm a bitter beer, dark beer type of guy. What do you think, man? Bourbon Barrel Aged Arrogant Bastard by Stone Brewing Company.
So there is a little hint, because of the bourbon, there is a little hint of a sweetness to this beer.
Yeah.
Which I really do like.
Yeah.
But it hits you
like a shotgun.
It's a strong hit. Mm-hmm. And it's you can taste the hops, you can taste the wood barrel aged flavor. Yep. It's almost like a caramel flavor.
Oh yeah.
Which has a little sweetness to it, which makes it very delicious.
Yeah.
If I had 6 to 8 of these things,
God,
I wouldn't be able to talk on this podcast. I'm not lying.
The thing is,
my face is tingling.
I'm already almost 2.5 beers in, and I'm in a good place. I'm a little buzzed.
See, this is only my second one, and the only reason I'm drinking a little slower, guys, to let you know, is because I need to save this third one to take a picture for our social media page.
Yeah.
But I'm 1 3/4 in, and my face is tingling. Not in a bad way. Not like I need to be rushed to the hospital, but this thing packs a little punch, and it's delicious. I'm not gonna lie. But would I drink 8 of these? No, absolutely not. Not unless I wanted to
go all out,
slap someone's mom or some reason like that.
Why would you do that?
That
is the worst comparison, man.
I'm just saying, this is not. It's a good beer. I'll put a little bit more detail on
Instagram.
On the Instagram, and I'll get it over to the other social media pages. But yeah, go ahead and give it a try, guys.
Wait.
Barrel Aged Arrogant Bastard.
We gotta scale it. We gotta give it our 1 to 10. What are we looking at, Drew?
1 to 10, I'll give this one an 8. I'll give this an 8.5. I will give this an 8.5.
I'm giving this Vlad 10. This is a 10 on my scale,
Okay,
man.
so Vlad 10 means nothing.
Okay, well, there's a particular level of bias when it comes to this beer. I've been drinking this brand for so long, and I love the hops. I love all the flavor that bursts into your mouth. And I'm a fan of the fact that I can have 5 of these and be cruising like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right. If you were to have, 7, 8 of these,
Yeah.
you'd be gone. It would be the equivalent of taking like 10, well, not 10 shots. Obviously, shots are stronger. But it's kind of the same idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With this beer, and you know what this would be perfect with? If you're a cigar guy,
Oh, yeah.
this is a great beer to have a cigar to.
Absolutely.
This would be nice to sit out,
Yeah.
smoke a nice
smooth cigar.
smooth cigar.
Yeah.
And I know there's guys out there that like dipping the cigars like in the whiskey. If you dip this in the beer, man, I think this would be fantastic. So give it a try.
I think this is a successful beer week.
Yeah.
I think if I wasn't also biased, I'd still give this beer like a 9, personally. This is a 9 to 10 beer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with 8.5. I think Drew's kind of a harsher critic. I think he has a better sense of taste. Even though I did go pretty hard on the Alamo beer.
Yes.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of full of crap right now. But anyway, I totally agree. Great beer.
In my opinion, guys, I will always be around the same 6 to 8 to 9. I
Yeah.
mean, I will rank them like that.
Yeah.
Unless your beer makes me cry in a good way, I'll give you a 10. Like
Or
if I
cry in
taste
a bad
this,
way.
Or cry in a bad way, I'll give you like a sub 5. But for the most part, I'm going to stick within the 6 to 8.5 to 9 range.
Right.
And this deserves an 8.5 to 9. It is a damn good beer. Bourbon barrel aged, arrogant bastard. Go try it out of Stone
Absolutely.
Brewery out of Escondido, California.
Yep.
Again, just to remind you guys, go follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Give us the likes, the follows. Keep on listening. We absolutely love doing this. We are next week. Next Saturday. We're going to start our discussion about Drew's favorite division, the NL Central, where I will spend basically half the podcast bashing the Cubs because it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
But and also don't forget, just to make your lives easier, instead of giving you guys all of the detailed versions of where we are, go to cheapseatspodcast.libsyn.com and you can listen to our podcast there. We should have our third one up. We're going to do some editing today. Should have it up by tomorrow, correct? Or late tonight or early tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say late tonight, early tomorrow. We should have it up by then.
Yeah.
On that Libsyn, on that Cheap Seats podcast.libsyn.com page, guys, there will be little links and little widgets that you can hit up our Facebook and Twitter. We're trying to figure out how to put an Instagram on there. I don't think we've
I don't think they
found
have
that out
that.
yet.
That's why we really want to move on to that,
Yeah.
having a personal website, so we don't have to worry about that.
Again, just as a reminder, we'll keep you guys updated. 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully, maybe another couple weeks. I don't know. We're trying to get a simple website up, so we'll see what happens there.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and goodbye from the Cheap Seats.
Cheers from the Cheap Seats.